Verbal offers versus written offers. I was reading an article in the news and it was talking about a couple who had thought they had bought the home that they wanted in North Vancouver, but it ended up they didn't get it. So I was talking about that with one of my clients and he was like, oh, you should do a YouTube video about this. And I said, okay, sure, I'll do it eventually. So I just want to share with you my perspective on this. Obviously, the article was unclear on certain aspects of the story. They had said that the couple had wrote an offer and the seller had countered the offer and said, we agree with everything, we just want to remove 2 subject clauses. So technically, if the buyer at that time accepts it and signs, then it's an accepted offer. But before the buyer signs, if the seller says, no, I changed my mind, I'm going to rescind my offer, then technically they have that right too. So I don't know the specific details of the story because the article doesn't really include all the specific details. I think the story is saying that the buyer couple is seeking legal advice about what to do. So anyways, I wanted to give you my perspective. When I was studying to become a real estate agent, the books were saying that when you're writing an offer for a buyer, you got to put it in writing, you send it over to the listing agent presents it to the seller, then the seller can counter the offer, they can reject the offer, or they can accept the offer. If they counter the offer, the buyer's first offer would no longer be active, it would be void. So if the buyer accepts that offer, then accept the offer. Great. And usually in real estate, deals are pretty simple. Countering back and forth in writing. Seller counters, buyer crosses out what they don't want, and they write in what they want. They send in the counter to the seller does the same, and go back and forth. In this particular situation, it seemed to me that maybe the seller had rescinded on their offer. Because technically, if the seller counters, the buyer sends the paperwork to the buyer agent, and if the seller tells the buyer agent or the listing agent tells the buyer agent, hey, seller changes their mind, before the buyer has signed it or before the buyer agent delivered it to the buyer and the buyer signed it, the listing agent can say, oh, my seller changed their mind. So technically then the offer would be void. Okay, so the topic I'm talking about today is written offers versus verbal offers. They teach us in the real estate trading manual, make sure all your offers are in writing because you don't want to negotiate on paper because people will change their mind, and verbal it doesn't hold up in court and all that. It's great in theory, but here's the thing. What happens in negotiations is that a lot of agents deal with clients who don't like to go back and forth and DocuSign and e-sign and or back in the day it was like faxing or bringing over the papers to the sellers. And a lot of sellers or buyers just say, let's verbal it. Let's verbal this and verbal that. And when we get an agreement verbally, then we'll put it on paper. The danger is if it goes to verbal agreement and somebody changes their mind, then you have nothing because it was all verbal. Nothing was on paper. Okay, as a realtor, you don't want to be the agent that's super fixed on having everything in writing because sometimes that hinders the deal from getting done. Some clients, of course, they got to put it in writing and it's got to be on paper, but during the negotiation process, if it goes back and forth like 10 times, they don't want to be like signing this, sending, signing this, sending. They just want to be like, it's too much time. And it might frustrate the client. And when the client is frustrated, it's easy for the client to walk away from the deal. I say it depends on the client and also depends on the deal. And depends on the listing agent or the buying agent, whoever you're talking to. Because sometimes if you force the opposing agent to get in writing, and you frustrate the opposing agent might get pissed off, also convey that message to their client, and their client might get pissed off, and you might frustrate the deal and you might lose the deal. So I say go with the flow, see what the situation is like, and if you can get it in writing, great. Of course, when you firm up the deal, of course it's got to be in writing. But during the negotiations, you can be flexible. Sometimes it can be verbal, but ideally, of course, you want to get it in writing. But don't be a hard ass and force the other agent to get it in writing when their client just doesn't want to get it in writing. So my opinion is written, of course, but in the process of negotiations, sometimes verbal offers lead you to an accepted written offer. So think about, it's all about the deal. It's not about, written or verbal. It's about, can you get the deal done? And can you get it where it's a win-win situation? Don't frustrate the buyer, don't frustrate the seller. Try to work according to their style and get the deal done. You're working in the best interest of your buyer or seller, and so is the other party. You don't want to throw all this red tape in front of the buyer or the seller agent to frustrate the deal. Do what's necessary, discern, because every deal is different. You got to see who the opposing agent is, what's the buyer or seller like, find out and adjust accordingly. Be flexible and get the deal done. Okay, I hope that answers your question about written versus verbal offers. If you have further questions about the article or a similar situation is happening to you, feel free to comment below. I probably can't speak directly about the article because I don't know the exact details, and probably it's not my place, right? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just giving an opinion on what I read or what I see from the article. Hope you found value. Subscribe, comment below, and share this message with other people who need to hear the difference between written and verbal offers. Till next time, I'll see you in the next video.